It was interesting as I was doing research for today, I found a quote from a CFO of one of the FTSE 100s that said, "It's important that finance chiefs contribute more than just numbers. A finance chief's knowledge of the business has to be as good as the CEO's." And that to me goes to that I've got to push myself, I've got to know enough. Today, it is essential to be the co-pilot to the CEO and be able to talk to the outside world about all parts of the business. It's almost as if you've got to be able to assume that role. And Ash, I know that you've been out visiting employers such as Coca-Cola and McCormick and PepsiCo and a whole series of others. And I know since you're a pilot, you love the analogy of the co-pilot. Can you share with us your analogy of the pilot and the co-pilot and how the employers are reacting to it?
Sure.
And now I will change the screen. We're working well together.
So just a photo from 50 years ago of the Boeing, which was the first 747. And the systems that were required. It actually required a flight engineer and a flight navigator. The navigator actually is today redundant. If you look at the current 747 and other aircrafts that are coming in. So that was a view of the navigator and his dashboard and supporting the pilot sitting up front. The pilot's looking back at you. And today, the pilot can fly this Airbus 380, which this is a view of, just using that little heads-up display that you see on the left-hand, upper left-hand corner. He gets all the information he needs fed through to that screen. He doesn't even have to put his head down and look at the detailed dashboard. And really, if you look at the information that is being fed to him, the navigator is redundant because systems have taken over. And that's how technology is moving. Information is coming at a pace of knots. It's being translated into insights and intelligence by systems. And if, as financial professionals, we remain financial navigators, going and telling the CEO, I think you're on track, you may be 2 degrees off course, I think you're going to run out of cash in 6 months' time, you don't have place in the cockpit. But if you're able to help him fly the plane, if you're going to go and say that I think product X is what is going to see you out of trouble because of what I've seen with the customer loyalty in that particular segment, because of what I see, how the costs are moving, because of how I see the supply chain and how we can go and perhaps acquire the supplier, the strategic supplier, and bring that into the business. You know, unless you can add value by giving those suggestions, you will be replaced if you're just a provider of technology. And what we're really doing, and this is the common theme I've found from CFOs, is the dashboard. And when you're driving your car, you're mainly looking out through your window. Is that the next slide, Arlene? The car?
Nope.
Yes.
Oh, yes, it is.
So,
I really don't like airplanes, so I don't like these analogies.
I hope some people in the audience can relate to this. But when you're driving your car, you're usually looking out of your windscreen. You're occasionally glancing at your rearview mirror. And sometimes you're looking at the speedometer, especially if you see the cops, right? Oops, what's my speed, right? So, and that is how, you need to be running your business looking out of your windscreen and not constantly just keeping your head down, looking at the dashboard, which is actually backward looking. So finance needs to transform, and every finance department that I've spoken to, every CFO I've spoken to are in the process of transformation. And they are looking at being relevant to the business, and they are looking at being business partners. And some companies have made progress, like Coca-Cola. Apparently, they started their journey 15 years ago. Right. They're ahead of the curve. And some companies are making the transition now. But a designation like CGMA, which allows them to move from their comfort zone, to move from the solid technical skill base, and move towards insights and making an impact, strategic impact on the business, is what they're driving their finance departments through. And I really see CGMA fitting right in to what they are needing of their finance professionals, of their finance departments.
And I think CGMA actually did some work several years ago that depicted that in this figure that we have here today, which shows that whole transformation, if you will, from capturing of data all the way to impact. And
Right.
you've been using this with the employers.
Right. This has really resonated, and we've been out to these employers, and several of the state societies have accompanied us, and we've really had a terrific time with them explaining the CGMA value proposition. And they see value in it. They see value in moving from efficiency towards effectiveness. Right. They see value in how businesses can be better supported by embarking on this very journey. GlaxoSmithKline, for example, has a similar diagram, and they love this. They said, you are doing exactly what we're trying to do internally.
Right, and as I think back about when we launched the JV, that was the whole point of the CGMA, was to really to have a designation that met our members in industry where they were. Right. And when I hear you, when you come back and you talk about what you're hearing from employers, it just resonates that it's validating exactly that the CGMA is where the large corporations want to go. Right. Now, I've come to appreciate how big these multinationals are.